So for the meat of this episode, we're talking horror movies that need a board game. Specifically, we are talking horror movies or IP that do not already have a previously published board game. And we're going to lightly talk about what we would like to see in that board game, maybe some kind of unique mechanism or something. So I thought of this idea because I was like, everyone's going to do a Halloween special. It's just what happens, right? Mm-hmm. And I think one year we did maybe our top 5 horror films.
We did a top 5 horror films, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, what else can we do that would be different than what other people are going to do? And I thought, kind of taking game or movies that we really like and making a board game kind of like ideas would be a fun topic. Mm-hmm. So Eric, how much did you have any trouble with this list?
It took a little thinking, but yeah.
I think Matt just probably took a pen and was like, so I was like, I wonder if Eric's going to enjoy this idea, giving him like 3 days in advance.
I think Eric probably thought
not even 3 days. It was like 2 days.
Was it? I think I said it on Monday.
I don't know.
Eric saw it on Tuesday though, so it was 2 days.
Right.
It's actually funny because I was thinking about it and I came up with like two ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And we were originally going to make this a top 5, but then I was like, no, because I don't want to just limit it to 5 because some of these might be really short. And I figured Matt would probably just put a ton of them in there and maybe Eric would have 3 or 4. And then I was coming up with some trouble with some, I had 3 and then I was like, what else do I do?
Mm-hmm.
So I started hitting up the Google machine and be like, horror movies. And I guess I say horror movies, but it's really Halloween-ish movies.
Right.
They can be scary, suspense, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, Matt, just throw out a couple of yours since you have the longest list.
A couple of them. Well, I'll start with probably I'll probably.
Then we can just round table it.
Yeah, that's fine. So I thought like Army of Darkness would kind of be cool.
Yeah.
You could do it in 2 different ways, maybe.
Does that have a board game?
No, I don't think so.
Not that I know.
Not that I'm aware of.
Keep talking.
Yeah. They have a iOS game.
Yeah.
But so it could be. I thought of like 2 different games. I started off thinking like an adventure game, kind of like the Witcher game or something like that, where you're just going around different areas. Like you got to go get the book and do this and that. But then I was thinking like the movie doesn't really have enough things to do with that aspect. So then it kind of shifted more to a maybe like a worker placement that kind of had a co-op feel to it. So something like Champions of Midgard, where maybe you're placing workers to build up your army, and then but everyone's got that common goal of fighting the Deadites at the top. There's monsters at the top of the thing that you got to fight off. And then actually a third option would be if you just want to go complete tower defense, you could do like a Castle Panic theming and just have Deadites and stuff running at the castle and you fight them off.
So Army of Darkness, the board game.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It says 2018.
Oh, someone beat you.
Army of Darkness is a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players that can be played in 60 to 90 minutes.
Please say everything I just said.
Yeah.
In this action assignment area control game, you play as Ash and his allies and work together to fight off swarms of Deadites commanded by Evil Ash and Evil Sheila.
Mm-hmm.
So basically it's tower defense.
Yeah.
But there was also a card game in 2004 and I guess maybe there's another one that came out in 1993. I don't know if like the 2004 is a re-implementation of it or whatever, but
never heard of them.
But I mean, not that those matter, but I thought it was funny that there was a board game that's basically doing everything you're saying.
Yeah, that's good. Good for
because
them.
I think that I remember this being kickstarted not very long ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I didn't know that because I don't look at Kickstarter, so that was completely my own idea. I'll do one more and then switch off to you guys.
All
right. I said it. Now this would be really hard to pull off, but I thought if anything could do it, maybe it was like kind of like a folklore style where maybe you had like a town of Derry and it would have a lot of story with it. But you wouldn't travel as a group. You would travel individually. So like, I remember I had like those random fights and stuff you would do in folklore when you were traveling from area to area. Now I don't know what that would entail because essentially all you're trying to do is run from them. You can't fight Pennywise. So I don't know if it's the best.
What happens if you do fight him?
Well, you have to be together when you do that. So maybe you're traveling around town to collect stuff or figure things out.
Eric says you die.
Yeah, and yeah, if you do fight him, most of the time, unless you're all together, you're probably going to, because he likes eating kids. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
This says coming to Kickstarter 2 months ago, and people are wondering where it's at. So.
Oh, so they're hyping it, but it just ain't out yet.
Yeah. So you're on the cusp of cutting edge. Eric, what you got?
All right, I got One Night of Screams. So it's a Scream.
Scream?
And, yeah, like Ghostface and whatnot. So you're trying to find the killer and the accomplice, but it's a one-night game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I think they eventually did have a second killer.
Yeah. The accomplice guy. Right. So So there might be a deputy. Then that's the person that investigates one card, kind of like the seer, and then you have the reporter in there, the troublemaker. So yeah, just a kind of a spin-off and just slapping it onto the one-night games.
I can see that.
That'd actually be kind of neat.
Yeah.
The first one for my list is Descent, not the Descent as in like Fantasy Flight, but the scary movie Descent. If you're not familiar with it, basically a group of women go spelunking into a cave, except one of them thought it would be cool to go to a cave that is not charted, and they get stuck in there and blah, blah, blah monsters.
Have you seen the second one?
No.
Did you know it picks up right where the first one leaves off?
Yes.
Okay. I just found out about that when I was looking up movies to watch or whatever. Someone brought that up. So
have you seen it or no?
No, but they were saying it's essentially like just a 3-hour movie. They just kind of like cut it up in 2 sections. Yeah.
I don't know how it could be good at that point because
they actually said it. The second one's actually pretty good, evidently.
Wow. I mean, it is the same director and I think the same main character.
It sounds like he had a big story. He just couldn't fit it all into one, so he probably didn't sacrifice what he had to make a movie.
Well, essentially, this would be like a kind of like Claustrophobia, where it's a 2-player game, or maybe you could split them up, but I don't see how that would be fun. But essentially, one player plays like a group of spelunkers, and the DM is kind of laying out tiles, but it's incredibly limited. So, like, as you lay out tiles, you pick up ones you've been to. So, like, the DM has a map, but you can barely see where you're going because you're actually in a cave system, and then you're trying to outrun these crawlers. So as you do different things, maybe they can't see, so maybe there's some mechanism to where they would be drawn to failed skill rolls and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Cool. Maybe even something like Clank, where you make noise.
Yeah, where you make clank, clank, clank.
Yeah, and they that's what draws them to you. This is the
it's
one
called Whimper.
Yeah, this is the one easy one I said. And I actually included a video game. Well, no, it's a movie too. I forgot about that. But Silent Hill and like The Ring, things like that would work really good if you just had a Time Stories version of it.
Oh, that would be a cool Time Stories.
Yeah,
that's the easy one. I think if they just slapped those IPs into Time Stories. And actually, I remember I think we might have done video games into board games.
We did
on one of the few things, and I actually said the Silent Hill Time Story thing. So
yep,
cool. So mine is it's Michael Myers, hidden identity type of game. I'm not sure if it's hidden identity, but it's a hidden identity movement. One person is gonna play Michael Myers. Everybody else
Jason. Wait, hold on.
They already have a Friday the 13th like this.
Yeah.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
It's called Last Friday.
Yeah, it's essentially. It's probably essentially what you're talking about.
Oh, I've never played that game.
But this is officially licensed.
So everybody moves around, but you have a hand of cards, and you have like trip and stuff like that you have to play. So there's more devastating things that you make more noise, or you might make noise on purpose to make them come to you, draw them to you. You get more points for doing stuff like that, taking risk, but you're just trying to survive the night.
Right. Essentially,
I don't know if that's the same thing as the Friday the 13th.
Last Friday or
Last Friday,
whatever, is essentially Spectre Ops in reverse. It's one person trying to get all the other people versus everyone trying to get the agent.
But he's moving. He's the one that's in the shadows.
Yeah, he's the one that's like no one knows where he is.
Oh yeah, you know where Michael. We know where he is. He doesn't know where you are. He's going, down hallways and through the streets trying to find you. So mine's a little different.
Fair enough.
A little different, yep.
Fair enough. We'll come back. I think I have one that's kind of like that.
All right.
My next one is Saw.
Saw, okay.
Saw would be it's kind of not really the movie in board game form, but the idea, whereas it would be like 1v1, and then what it would happen is one player would actually use action points to build this elaborate maze that the other player would then have to go through, and then you could kind of do it in reverse to see who builds the better maze. And then you're basically trying not to die. Oh, but the other thing I put on here was that each character, you would pick your character, and then the person building the maze would know who you are, because obviously they brought you there.
Right.
And so that you would have strengths, and your weaknesses would be based off of why you're actually playing the game. So like if you're like addicted to drugs, you might have some sort of like detriment to you where you go into whatever the detriment is based off the character's story. Maybe they were, I don't know, just picture something bad and they would have a negative to them.
Right, something they have to that would affect them psychologically while they're trying to do it.
Correct. And then you would just reverse and play it again. So I don't know.
Sweet. This one, I don't think I really didn't write any mechanics for it, but I think it was a good idea. Something like Amityville Horror, Poltergeist, maybe even The Shining, but it would be cool where the objective of the game was where you played the ghost, and the objective was to like overrun the house or whatever, and even maybe possess people to. I think you could kind of say it's like, what is it, House on Haunted Hill or whatever, maybe similar to it, but you're not always playing. You don't start off as the spirits or anything from the get go, but I kind of got that idea because there was a Sega game I liked where you played the ghost. So
which one was that?
I think it was actually The Haunting.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
But it was essentially,
I think that was on your Sega top list.
Yeah, you essentially play a ghost and you try and scare everyone out of the house. So
I drank sweet tea. It went down the wrong pipe and it was like kind of lingering. I was trying to cough it out, and I think I coughed so hard I have like little swirlies around the outside of my vision.
No.
Yep. So anyway,
so I got I'm gonna see your Saw, and I'm gonna do my own. So Saw the escape room.
So
this was.
All right, I got trumped.
This is a escape room with kind of like a traitor element. So Saw in my game, I guess it's Jigsaw. He could be part of the group. So he's gonna be in the group. He's gonna try to maybe
like in the
deviate
first
you
one?
and not really help you out. But he also has to be really. He has to do it well, because if you do try to figure out and be like, I think he's the traitor, let's get rid of him. So if you do find out who he is, you get rid of him, you get extra time and whatnot to try to get out of this escape room. But if you don't, your morale or your time might go down. So yeah, that was kind of my ideal.
Oh yeah, that was way better than mine. My next one is Final Destination.
Okay.
So in Final Destination, basically you would choose a scenario, and then it would have a little bit of a role-playing element to it, I would think, because mechanically I don't think it would be an interesting board game if it was just straight up of rules.
You're destined to die.
So you would have, well, here's the thing. The winner is the person who dies last.
Yes, because you're all going to die.
You're going to die.
Right.
Yeah.
So the DM would actually be putting you through all these things or whatever based on the scenario. And the reason I say role-playing element is because I think you would have to have some sort of being able to talk or whatever. Like in D&D, you can say, this is what I want to do. What's the outcome?
Mm-hmm.
But then again, the DM's trying to kill you, so maybe there would have to be more rules.
Well, there'll be checks.
It'd definitely be a one versus all, I guess.
Yeah, it would be a one versus all. The DM is basically death.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the players are just trying to stay alive and run around. So
not take telephone poles to the face.
Yeah.
Or pipes.
That one right there
Was it pipes?
is telephone poles.
Telephone poles? Okay.
I think it was just like logs.
Yeah.
Because they were way bigger than telephone poles.
That's true. Okay. Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay, so I figured you could do daily activities, and you would kind of have like a stamina bar, and these certain actions would take certain amount of stamina away from you, but you would get like cards or something in return. And then eventually when you do run out of stamina, you'll go into sleep and you'll take these cards. I don't know if you would already have a deck or something built up, because I think if you're just getting cards, it'd probably take too much to get like a full-size hand. But eventually you go in a second phase where you take these cards depending on the daily activities you did to fight Freddy while you're asleep. So
Cool.
I'm surprised they haven't had a Nightmare on Elm Street game.
I got one.
you got one too?
That'll come up later.
Okay.
So my next game is
Well, there are Nightmare on Elm Street board games from the 80s. I'm sure they
nothing
suck.
good, right? So mine is Gremlins, the worker placement game. So you're using your Gremlins. You have your own factions. You're gonna take over, like restaurants or kitchens, to feed your your gizmos after midnight to get more Gremlins, more workers, and you're gonna try to take over different parts of the town to get actions or weapons and whatnot. So
Nice.
yeah.
And I will stand by you that the first Gremlins was halfway a horror movie.
Yeah.
It was frightening.
And the second one was an 80s fun film.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mine is a worker placement game as well, Eric.
Yeah.
It's called The Purge.
All right.
It is a 2-part game. You play this twice, basically. The first part of the game I put is a brutal worker placement game with lots of take that. So each player would play a different part of the city, and then your objective is basically to do crazy stuff with the other parts of the city. I mean, obviously I haven't designed this or anything, but essentially like maybe you can embezzle money, or you can steal from people, or you can commit like adultery and all this other stuff. And everything
whatever.
you do gives you mass amount of points, right? So you have like a set amount of characters that run around the board and do this, or worker placement or whatever. And then those characters basically have a value to them. The second part of the game is a free-for-all miniatures combat game where you go and kill each other. And as you kill the players, they give you those points that they acquired in the first part of the game. But if they stay alive, they're worth that much too. So
Cool.
Interesting.
yeah.
I actually don't have any more. But
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
yeah, y'all got more?
Oh.
Yeah, I got one more.
Oh, so you had a couple more now. So you just have a lot.
Yeah, I
written
guess
down.
because I went twice at the beginning. So.
Yeah.
So my last one was like a Freddy Krueger mashed with like an ink and gold kind of game, right?
Okay.
So basically, you're going to
Is this Nightmare on Elm Street?
yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to this dream world, and you are trying to push your luck. You're trying to stay there, and experience all this stuff, which gives you more courage. So instead of little gems, you're getting these little courage cubes or whatever. That you the more you see, the more courageous you are. That you're going to be able to face Freddy. So these dangers are going to be like scares. He's going to try to scare you. So you don't want to stay too long, because if he gets the same scare out,
Right.
he's going to actually scare you, and then he's going to come after you. So you have to leave. You bank all your courage. After whatever 3-4 rounds, you bank your courage, and then with that, maybe you fight Freddy, and you can spend your courage to do whatever.
That's fair. I like that. Well, the last game I've got, and I saved my best, I think, for last, is A Quiet Place. And so, if you're not familiar with the movie, basically you can't make noise because these things will come and kill you. But the way the game would be played is it's a hidden movement game in reverse, meaning that all the players are hidden, but the bad guy is not. And the way this
like
would
my game.
right, but it's a little different. Check this out. So you get a board in the middle of the table.
Mhm.
The bad guy player puts a blindfold on and can only hear. Everything the players do, they have to announce out loud. So they roll dice or whatever. They have to say the results. If they move around, they have to say which direction they're moving, and then move their character on the board and make noise or whatever. And they, or they can make a little bit of noise or whatever. And they have to say, I'm going like, west twice and going south 3 times or whatever. So as the player with the blindfold, you're like getting really close to the table and trying to listen to where all this stuff is. When the players are done with their turns, then they would pick up all their they would, on the hidden movement sheets, they write down where they're at and remove all their pieces from the board. And then the bad guy player would wake up. He would take off his blindfold and actually start putting things out where he thinks players are to see if they would generate any kind of like checks and stuff to freak out. So my cat is freaking out, just like my cat. He would have been dead by these things.
Yeah, oddly enough, in reverse though, I would say, why do we not have any movies of board games in the sense of Cthulhu?
Uh,
Could you
What was
imagine?
that?
I'm just saying in reverse.
Like Cthulhu movies.
Why is there no Cthulhu movies?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I've only seen one, and it was on like History Channel. It was like a short film or whatever,
Huh.
based on one of the short stories. But
That's true, because it is a huge.
yeah,
Board
you see
gaming
all the
theme.
all the board games that they do with it. I'm surprised they haven't, or at least like Netflix doing like a mini series or something with it.
Yeah.
It might be coming.
Well,
They
anyway,
can-
that's all we have, right?
They can take that idea and kickstart that one too.
Right? Exactly. So I don't know. Hopefully this was entertaining and it was different than what you've been hearing on other podcasts. I always thought it's cool to like mish and mash hobbies together,
Mhm.
you know, different mediums or medias, and think of some cool ideas or whatever and just kind of talk. So we're going to move on to our final topic.